Here we have the Casio G-Shock GBX100. It's one of the latest Casio G-Shock square watches that you can buy. And here at Curated Inc., we value exquisite design. The products that we use in our day-to-day lives, we sort of want to just drift away from us. We want them to be invisible as we use them. That's what good design is. So today we're going to take a classic that was introduced in 1983 and see if its brand new modern take on it is any good. Now there are a number of videos on YouTube regarding the GBX100 and basically a rundown of its features, tutorials, and how to use it. So I'm not going to do any of that, but I will link to those videos in the description below. What I want to accomplish today is why one of the most iconic and arguably one of the best looking digital watches in the world isn't really designed that. So for starters, this new G-Shock GBX100, which I believe was released in 2020, has a few features in it that were introduced new to this particular series of watch. For one, the display on it is what they refer to as, I believe it's like memory in pixel or something like that. But really what it is it's a dot matrix display instead of the traditional LCD display that comes on these square G-Shocks. And what it allows for is a slightly better kind of like graphics. It looks a little smoother, kind of better numbers. It allows you to have like that little like moon and sun icon and all that other stuff, which allow for some kind of like neat features. But in any event, what it does is it just sort of turns this into what one would call like a dumb watch into a smart watch. And that's where I think that this watch fails. It has a little bit of an identity crisis. Now, I think that this watch is stunning to look at. I love the white band, whether you like white bands or not, I love it. And I love the stainless steel bezel. I think it's iconic. I think it's good looking. I think that this thing is durable as hell. It can absolutely take a beating. But here's why it is a design, maybe failure is a little bit too harsh, but why they need to go back to the drawing board. First and foremost, when you start an activity, and you do that with this button here, it starts an activity for like running, walking, that kind of thing. It cannot do it for biking or anything else. It really is just for running or walking. But let's say you accidentally hit this button, and by the way, you will sometimes. When you want to exit out of this screen, it takes this long just to leave the activity screen. You haven't even started, saved, or erased an activity yet. And yet it still takes that long. Now, it wouldn't be a big deal if starting an activity was a little bit harder to do, but the fact is that you can activate that screen by the simple press of this button. And while G-Shock does a good job of recessing the buttons so there is less accidental input than on some other watches, the fact is that you still can hit it. And that is an unacceptably long amount of time to exit out of that screen. Now, the rest of the watch is pretty quick. You know, as you can see, like moving through the activities and the different screens is about on par with every other G-Shock. Now remember, this isn't an Apple Watch. It's not some sophisticated thing, but the point is that navigating around it is pretty simple. But I want to show another design failure on this watch. And that is when you go to the stopwatch, when you start it, there's no tenths screen or counter. All you get is the seconds and the minutes and the hour. And in some ways, it kind of defeats the purpose of a stopwatch. Now, the reason why they did it, of course, is because the screen can't go fast enough because it's this dot matrix screen opposed to the traditional LCD and the other G-Shocks. It can't go fast enough to display the tenths of a second. Now, one thing that they could have done is that you don't see the tenths of a second count down when it's operational, but when you stop it, it should show the tenths of a second or something like that on the screen below. So in other words, the watch is calculating it, you just don't see it in action until you actually pause or reset. Anyway, that is, to me, a design failure of the watch. Another design failure is that it doesn't have speedy buttons. So I'll show you what that means. Let's say we go into the menu here, right? And we want to go to the alarm. And we want to set an alarm here. And, well, first off, this is already becoming a pain in the ass. But when you try to set the alarm here, if you want to scroll, one would think intuitively that you would hold the button and it would go faster, but it doesn't. You have to press and press and press and press and just keep on pressing, just keep on pressing. And you shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to hold and it just scrolls on through, but it doesn't. Holding it actually brought you back to the main menu there. And let's go back to alarm. And that kind of goes with everything here on the watch. Every single action you want to do, you have to press and press and press and press and press. And I'm sorry, but these buttons are not the most responsive or easiest to press. Now, in some ways, that's a good thing because it prevents against accidental input. So I would have less complaint about the button if only you could press and hold and it would scroll faster, but it doesn't. And that kind of thing also affects the timer. If you go to the timer, you would think normally if you wanted to start a timer or customize a timer, there'd be some combination of buttons that you could hold on this watch in order to edit the timer or somehow manipulate which ones. For example, you have 5 possible timers that you can start, and they move sequentially. And that's a really, really clever idea, but it's just implemented so damn poorly. For example, the one that we have set right now is 32 seconds long, right? So we start it, it counts down, stop it, reset. Well, if you wanted to change this on the fly really quick to something else, you have to press and hold. Now it's asking you how many times you want to repeat that alarm. Okay, fine, so 1. Now is where you can actually adjust the time. So you can select between your 5 timers and which one you want to manipulate. We'll do this, what they call the green. And then we go over here. And if you wanted to make it a couple of minutes, well, you can't just press and hold. You've got to press and 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 press. And that's a pain in the butt. And then you get over here and then you have to press and press and press and press and press and press. And that is a pain in the butt. Save and exit. Yes, settings complete. You have to wait on that for a couple of seconds. And now you've got back to the home screen. You cannot select any of these individual timers on their own. It has to be done sequentially with the timer. So for example, if this first one was 32 seconds and this second one was 30 seconds, the only way to get to the 30-second one is to go through the 32-second timer. And that's why it has this little total thing at the bottom there. Now I think for a countdown timer, that could be really clever for like exercising if you're doing like high intensity interval training or something like that. But as a design standpoint, it's just far too complicated. It's not very intuitive. It takes too long to do anything on it. And it is a design failure. There are other noticeable design failures on this watch, such as the notification center. So if you go to the notification center, you can pair it with your phone, Android or iOS, and basically it will, the watch will alert you when you have a notification. It does it on the home screen. There's like a little icon that shows up that says you have a notification. But in order to get to that notification, you have to scroll to the notification screen, which as you can see is a little bit of a pain in the ass. Let's do it again. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. And then only in there can you click it and then go through the list of the notifications. And frankly, the notifications are a bit useless. They don't really tell you any kind of meaningful data. They just say you have something coming up. You have an email, you have a text, but you really can't see any of the information on it. And that to me also makes it worthless. Why did you even bother having the notification option in here? It's not easy to get to. It's hard to navigate around. It doesn't give you any meaningful information. So why did you include it? You shouldn't have. And that kind of goes with some of the other, that's kind of the given theme of this watch. There's just a lot of stuff that they included that they just shouldn't have included. You might as well have not had it at all. You might as well have kept it a dumb watch. I love the G-Shock watches. I think that they're handsome, they're functional, they can take a beating, they offer a variety of colors, there's pedigree, there's heritage, there's all kinds of awesome things from this watch that stemmed from 1983. But this one, you get it because you think it looks good. I think that's probably about it. It has, a couple of other little quick things, I guess, to talk about on it is it does, I like the icons and the design of that stuff. I think that all looks good. And if you're into the tides, the tide height and stuff like that, I guess that's pretty good too. And it does give you a step counter, which I'm a little bit, gotta tell you, the accuracy is so-so. The Apple Watch, which I would give, there was probably about a 5% disparity between the Apple Watch and this, and frankly, I'm probably going to hand it to the Apple Watch as far as accuracy. But anyway, and then the other thing is the Move app that comes with this particular watch. You have to get the Move app in order to sort of have it communicate with the watch. It too is sort of clunky and slow and hard to navigate. Again, the video that I'll link in the description will kind of touch a little bit more on that. So anyway, just wanted this to sort of be a quick video on why this particular G-Shock is what I would call a design failure. It is a beautiful watch, and there is a lot of great functionality to it. I love the screen, I love the looks, but there's just too many annoyances that in your day-to-day, I think that you would get pretty damn tired of using it. And what that will happen then is that watch will just sort of sit on a shelf and collect dust, and you know, eventually it will die. This watch does have a battery that needs to be replaced every 1 to 2 years, depending on usage, and I don't personally find that to be a problem. You just pop these 4 screws off, replace it with your standard watch battery, and it's good to go. I've heard other people complain about that they want the solar charging and all this other stuff. Personally, I don't think that that's a big deal, and you don't really need it. But yeah, it's just this watch has a bit of an identity crisis, wants to be smarter than it is, but it's not really that smart. I did think the Bluetooth connectivity, once it's hooked to your phone, does a pretty good job. Every time you sort of start an activity to track yourself with GPS, it does activate quickly and seems to track you and stuff like that, but it really doesn't offer a whole lot of meaningful data. And again, there was probably about a 5% disparity between the Apple Watch's tracking and this tracking, and of course I'm going to hand it to the Apple Watch, which is a far more sophisticated smartwatch. So here on Curated Incorporated, we like to offer feedback on how they could improve this design, because there's no point in bitching about design if you don't offer some kind of solution. And I think that the newer G-Shocks could probably go with this dot matrix screen. It's very beautiful and nice to look at, but it would be nice if they offered maybe the tenths of a second counter in the stopwatch, at least when you pause it. I think that they should ditch the notification center altogether, because it just really has no real benefits. They need to improve upon that Move app that's on the smartphone. And notably, I would say they also need to add the press and hold to scroll through things faster. And really, maybe what they just need to do is sort of simplify this watch in general. Just make it a little less complicated, or again, make it less of a smartwatch and more of your classic G-Shock Casio. I think this watch, again, is probably more for people that just want it as a fashion statement and don't want to spend the money for the more premium G-Shock, like GMB WB 5000 series, all metal ones. Think I might keep this still though, try it out for another few days and see how it is. But otherwise, that is our design opinion on the Casio G-Shock GBX100. If you have any questions, please feel free to like and subscribe. Otherwise, we will be back with another video soon.